Welcome everybody to the Social Dig, late night calling shows, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And as always, we're going to be digging into the topics to keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, kick your feet up, get an ice cold beverage, get ready to join the conversation. We are at the late night calling show. So you know how it goes. You guys hop on stage, you come on and we talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about. It's pretty much the essence of the show and kind of what we do and what we're going to do again tonight. So I do want to go ahead and welcome everybody. If you came over for an after hour show, awesome show over there. Do appreciate you guys coming on over and kicking it and having some fun with us. Let me go ahead and give out the medals. Race fan with the gold. We got Jessica S with the silver and Jeremy Jones coming in with that bronze. Appreciate you showing on up, guys. Also, Fast Hemi, Richard Minnick. Awesome. Thanks for coming in. Smart Man as well. Let's see. Latchkey Hustle. Appreciate you showing on up. Bomber. Hey, Bomber. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing up. Bim Jim, who might also be in the back. Appreciate you coming on in, Bim Jim. Thanks for showing up here tonight. Magneticus, Attractus, thanks for showing on up here at the show tonight. Let's see, who else do we have? Polly Rotterman, thanks for coming on in to the Social Dig, late night calling show. Also, want to welcome Nikki. Angels Are Alive, Nikki. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing on up over here tonight. Magneticus, he is early tonight. LOLOLOL. Appreciate you showing on up. Ethanol, thanks for coming on in. First timer at the call-in show. Nice. Well, let me explain to you how it goes here. I don't have the phone line set up, even though I have it posted. It's 856-843-3444. That's 856-THE-DIGG. That's the one you would normally call in on. Or you can click on the link at the top of this live chat. There's a link where you could join the stage and come on and talk about whatever you want to talk about. As long as there's no cussing, no religious stuff, no deep religious stuff, no politics, and yeah, you're good to go. Midwest Night Watchers, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate showing on up. For anybody that's new, I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and maybe come on back and join us as well. Also, we want to go ahead and make sure we put that information up for you because some people are visual. This is the number, 856-843-3444. This is 856-THE-DIGG. You can also dial 001 if you're outside the United States, plus the number that'll get you right in. Also, want to go ahead and see what else do we have here. We have memberships available, guys. Memberships available right here at the Social Dig. We do have memberships. Become a social soldier today. What these memberships do is they go to help bring up the show, make the show a better show. Allow me to hire editors, do things to kind of polish up the brand and kind of make this the place to be, the place to come. So being a member helps you do that. Also, we have super chat options as well, which also help and go to helping the show. I want to shout out our members, and Joanne the Beekeeper, D. Nunley, Maggie M10, Deb from Sacramento, Flat 6, Miss Catherine Jones, Cosmic Joe Chronicles, and Wes Decker. Do appreciate your support. We really, really do. Also, we do have the social shop where you can get our swag. This is the My Experience Phenomena hoodie, which, by the way, the show is coming back, I believe, this next Friday with Lala Bright and Science Bob should be the guest for this upcoming episode. So that should be awesome. As well, Cash App is the easiest way, obviously, to get it on over. Money sign Mr. Rob G. All helps to go. It is not required. None of this is required unless you would like to do things to kind of help the show, right? Then you can take any of these options and they're all appreciated. Outside of that, guess what? We're going to get right into what we do here at the show, which is pick a topic, talk about it, hang out for a little bit, whatever you guys want to do, and then we wrap it up so I can go get me some sleep, right? Exactly. Appreciate you guys coming on in as we go ahead and let me go ahead and fade that on out here because we're going to jump right into the show. I have a couple people that are already in the back, and we're going to go ahead and bring them forward here in just a minute. But I want to get the show kicked off with maybe a topic like drones. Let's start it off with drones. So, as everybody knows, and maybe it's still going on tonight. I haven't been able to check to see. Actually, let me do that while we're still sitting here because I would love to know if the drones are still being seen. I would like to know this here. Okay, anything new? Okay, so as of what was this 3 hours ago, I guess Fox News is still reporting uh drone swarms. They just put a video out. So these drone swarms are still happening continuously. They've been happening, I guess, since right around Thanksgiving. And I haven't really paid attention in the beginning to these because you know what my point of view was on these, and I think we talked about those here, where the drones are, from what I felt, and actually I think I have a picture of them on this slide that I have up. Yeah, I do. So, picture of these drones. Apparently, there have been drone swarms. There was a story. This is how it all started. There was a story of drone swarms happening over Langley, on the East Coast, and this was something that had taken place in December of 2023. Okay, so that's way back in the past. Nobody is not. It wasn't. They weren't talking current day. Like, hey, this is happening right now. They said this came from a report back in December of 2023. So we looked at it, and the story, I think I read it on the show as well. The story, the way it was positioned, there were no images given at the time, no videos were out there. So it was simply the story. And then the story read that they were having actual drones. They made it appear or seem like just hobbyist drones, quadcopter drones that were flying over these military installations, or at least did back in December 2023. So they also pinned to that story the fact that they had arrested a person, not in necessarily relation to the Langley incident, but still within that time frame, of a Chinese national, someone who they caught outside flying an actual hobbyist drone over a military installation. And I guess he ended up getting time, like 6 months or something along those lines. He was convicted for it. So the story that they put out originally in the paper, is all before all this kicked off, was that conventional drones were had been seen over military base, swarming the base, and then in addition to that, they had arrested a Chinese national. Why they had to point out the person was Chinese, I don't really know. I don't know where obviously we know why, but I'm just saying, if you're writing the story, I don't know that necessarily is a big part of the story, right? Unless you're trying to position the fact that the Chinese potentially are the ones that are flying these drones over military installations, just like the Chinese spy balloon. Therefore, there aren't any UFOs that are actually flying or impeding or incurring on these military bases, right? So that was the original story. That's how it came out. That's why originally I didn't put any thought into it, because I'm like, oh, here they go. Here they go with another attempt at obfuscation. This is Chinese spy balloon part 2. It's obvious what they're trying to do here. They're trying to muddy up the waters so that you don't know what's real from what's not. Okay. Then we moved on a little bit, a little more time had passed, and all of a sudden it comes out that there were actually drone swarms in other places, right? And then it came out that there was a drone swarm that just happened in the UK. And then all of a sudden, it escalated into we have drone swarms over all these states in potentially sensitive areas here, right? So now we started paying attention to it because now they have videos and images of what these things are looking like. And for me, and I think I talked about this on the Social Dig show the other day, for me, when I saw the video of what they were depicting, which was something similar to what you're seeing here, it triggered something in me from an experience that I had about a year ago. And I'll kind of go back over that right now because it was an experience that I didn't initially, when I had the experience, didn't attribute to anything anomalous. I didn't attribute it to anything extraterrestrial. I just said it was weird. It was really weird. And to kind of go back with you on this, and actually I have the opportunity to bring up some of the visual stuff that I want to show you here. So let me do that. It's Summer Road, Salinas, California. Just so you can get an idea as I tell this story here. So bring this up on a okay, this is give me layers. Let me see. Okay, it does. All right, let me bring this up on the screen here. So this is what I had here. So I was traveling on Highway 101, and let me make this bigger for you guys. Okay, I was traveling Highway 101. You should be able to see my pointer here. So this is southbound. And just to kind of zoom out real quick so you get an idea of where this is. So I was coming from the Bay Area, which is San Jose, Gilroy, all that stuff. So I was coming from San Jose up here, traveled down Highway 101. And this is how I'm coming back because there's a way that you are able to cut over from there. And I think this is where I cut off right here to come over to like a shortcut to get to Southern California. So with that being said, okay, so I'm on the freeway coming down Highway 101. It's probably about 8:30 at night. And let me show you this turn off is sort of strange, right? As I'm just getting into the city of Salinas. Let me just back out just a little bit so you can see the city. All right, so essentially this is kind of getting into the city. This is where the populated part is. So I'm coming in. There's technically nothing here around where I'm at. Let me go to layers here so you can see the satellite version. All right, so you can see this is the city. This is kind of, and it's small. It's not super huge, but here I am coming out of nothingness. Essentially, I'm on Highway 101. I'm traveling down. There's really nothing here, but let me go ahead and zoom in a little more now. Okay, you can see how on this side of the freeway, imagine this sort of terrain at night. There's no lights in this field. This is completely pitch black dark. Everything you're seeing over in this area, even going back here. So I'm on the freeway coming down the freeway. I decided to get off here. And right about when I'm about right here on the freeway, right where you're seeing this point there, let me zoom in a little more. As I'm getting off the freeway, I'd say I probably got right about to, I want to say maybe here, right as this is about to curve. And I look up, I'm in a Mazda CX-90 or CX-60 that has a panoramic sunroof. So a panoramic sunroof is a sunroof that goes from the front seat, and it actually also goes to the back seat. So it's like a big, huge sunroof. So the people in the back seat are able to kind of look out the sunroof also. So I had the inside, the interior slider pulled back, so the glass was closed, but I could see the sky. I did it like that so I could look up at the sky. So as I'm getting right to it right here on this turn, I look up at the sunroof, and there is this drone coming down on top of the panoramic glass, like maybe 5 feet in the air, and it is coming down. It is matched my speed, and it is coming down onto the top of the car. And it got to, before I looked away, because I'm obviously driving, so I could look at it, and then I could turn and look back to the road. And I'm like, okay, I need to pull over. So all of this is pitch black dark. This turnoff takes you way over here, and then you turn here to come back across the freeway. So keep in mind, I've never been to on this turnoff. I've never been on this freeway. So all I know is I'm driving into the darkness. So I'm thinking of a place where I can pull over. So I go ahead and I'm like, okay, I can see this turn up here from, when I hit this bend here. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do that. I'll stop there. It seems like the safest place to stop, where I could just hop out real quick and then maybe take a picture of what it is that I'm seeing. But obviously, by the time that I got here, the drone wasn't there anymore. But it was just so weird to me that I drove across this freeway here, got onto this road, turned right, and then followed this road down into town. It takes you into town. And I pulled over because my mind is going crazy. Like, what was that? That is insane. And I end up right about here at this Denny's. So I take this main street all the way down, and then I stop right here and I park at the Denny's. And I'm just sitting there for a moment, and I'm thinking, what in the world? Why in the world would somebody be flying a drone on the highway? And I'm sitting there thinking about it. And then I decide I'd go to the little store, the reason why I turned off the freeway to begin with. And then I decide to go ahead and continue my trip. So I go ahead and hop back on the freeway, which is right here. So I stopped at this Denny's. Where's the Denny's at? Stopped at the Denny's, which is like right, this is Main Street. So it's right here. Now get back on, hop on this road and hop right back on the freeway and continue south from where I'm at and continue my trip. So as I get home a couple hours later. And when I get home, I go to the internet immediately because it's on my mind the whole way home what this drone was. Like, why did I see that? It was weird. It wasn't extraterrestrial. Now it couldn't be. It looked more like just a regular drone. Now I get home and I look up police drones. That's the first thing that I thought about when I got home. I'm like, okay, I know police use drones sometimes for different reasons. Let me look up and see what these police drones look like. And I found some police drones that they use for like spying on people in other neighborhoods. There's never been a case that I can think of where is there a case where the police have used a drone to follow a car on a freeway going at freeway speeds. It's always they'll raise them up in the neighborhood so they can see, individuals at a certain location that are stationary, or they'll send drones into like a situation where they don't want to send officers in. And the drones that they depicted for the police didn't look anything like what I saw. So I saw what appeared to be a regular quadcopter drone, but they had these lights on it on top, which were, I want to say, blue and then purple, or it could have been red and purple. Purple was one color for sure. And then the other color, it was only two colors. And I can't recall if it was either red or blue, but it was one of the two. Now, the more important part of that is how the lights were shaped. Now I'm going to show you the closest thing I could think of, and then maybe when I show you this, maybe you've seen something like this and you can explain to me what it was that I saw. But let me show you here. Okay, so imagine this. This is exactly, and I'm glad that I was able to find this here because this really depicts visually what these lights look like. Let me bring these up here. It'll take just a moment. Let's open that. Zoom in. Okay. So this is what they look like. Share. All right. This is what the lights look like. Now, as far as imagine these, and let me fill the screen with that. Imagine these made out of glass. Imagine this, okay? And imagine these are on top of the drone, like on the corners of the drone. Imagine these being made out of crystal or glass, just something clear. The spikes, the middle part where this ball is, the entire thing was made out of something clear, whether it's plastic, glass, or whatever you want to call it. And the light that lit these things up was on the inside of the ball. So it was a light that didn't shine outwards and illuminate like it. You couldn't have it. I wouldn't imagine it didn't appear that you could have it like in a use it to see things at night. These lights were inside of the glass and kind of gave it this inner glow. Like think of frosted glass. Think of frosted glass and then a candle inside of a frosted glass. It's not going to provide light for you to see things, but it will illuminate the object that it's inside of. So if you could imagine that, this is what I saw. Now, this doesn't make sense, right? Who in the world would have lights like these, shaped like these sea urchin, on top of a drone, a regular looking drone that flew down on the car? So I'm giving you this description and kind of going into detail about that because that was the weird part. Now, even with that being said, even with this image in your mind, a regular, but it was about 3 feet wide, the entire thing. And then these spiky lights is what I'll call them, were on top of the thing, on top of the drone, whether it was, red light or purple light, red light or blue light. And they were on, it's probably four or five of these lights on top. And it was hovering or coming down on top of my sunroof. So even though that's weird, I still walked away from that situation and said, it's not enough there for me to call that extraterrestrial. I want to be credible with anything that I bring forward. So I'm not even going to call that. I'm just going to leave it in the police drone category and then keep looking. And then maybe I'll find something that matches that down the line. And I kind of left it there. I think I brought it up on a show one time that I saw that. And then I also said that I didn't think it was extraterrestrial. Now, like I said, coming into today, where we are seeing these drones that are flying over these neighborhoods, there were a couple of those drones they showed that immediately triggered this experience in my mind. And I only say that to say that, as weird as the experience I had with that was, I don't feel like the drone that flew down on top of my vehicle that was going 65 miles per hour down a highway had anything to do with a person with a stick controlling this drone there's nothing that will make me feel like on the other end of that connection was a person guiding a drone. And so what that says, or an adversarial person, just a person, period. So you, where does that leave you? Where does that leave me? Like it kind of leaves me in a space where when the government sits up and says they don't know what those things are over New Jersey, it just makes me, you know, even though I had a different outlook before they showed the images where I'm like, okay, this is just uh obfuscation. They're doing this to kind of, muddy up the waters. It shifted my perspective when they showed the videos, because based on my experience, and then based on the fact of the report saying nobody knows what these things are, they just assume that they're commercial drones. And then some of these coming in as big as SUVs, and it doesn't seem that anyone knows who's doing it. These for me are going into the same category. And I could say, just based on my experience with the one that I saw, there's no way that you could make me feel like there was a person on the other end of that drone operating it. Not saying that there's an alien on the other side of it operating it, because I wouldn't know that. But I would say at the very least, for based on my experience, I felt like for what I saw, that there was not a person on the other side of that. Now, if there's some automated program, some AI that is flying these things, and so it has the ability to trace cars or track cars, that could be something totally, viable, or something that we could potentially look at. But I could tell you that it doesn't make sense for there had to have been a human being driving or flying one of these things. And then why would the lights look like the sea urchin? Tell me that. Why? What benefit would there be besides design or aesthetic for them to have this right here? So I just needed to put that out there. Like, I briefly talked about this on the episode the other day, but I really wanted to go more in detail because we're just talking tonight, and I could give you some visuals as to what it was that I saw. But you know, it just makes me feel like the things that they're seeing over there in New Jersey, there's more to that story than just someone that's controlling these things sitting outside the gate somewhere, or sitting in a field somewhere in New Jersey flying these drones into the air. Because here's what I'll tell you for sure: the satellites that we have up there, the spy satellites, have watched these things and know where they went back to once they left. So you can guarantee that the government knows, and maybe even foreign adversaries know too, where these drones ended up going to afterwards. They know, right? And I'm sure if it was as easy as someone sitting in the field flying the drones, those people would be arrested at this point for sure. The FBI would have visited their home already, or their location for sure. You could definitely guarantee that they know where these drones went. Now, why aren't they going to do anything about it? How are the drone incursions still able to happen, even as recently as tonight? I'm guessing, based on Fox News's video. That's where it gets spooky, right? Because if it's a foreign adversary, we had a balloon fly over from a foreign adversary, we shot it down. There wouldn't be anything different about one of these drones. If it's a foreign adversary, we'd shoot it down. Why wouldn't we shoot it down? Why wouldn't we? Right? So what does that say? What does that really say at the end of the day? It says likely it's not foreign adversarial. Is likely is not someone just sitting in the field, some private company or some entity sitting in a field flying these drones and then retrieving the drones and then going home after at the end of the day. Something someone brought up, which is what something I want to point to too, is that and I'll have to look back on this. I'm just going off of the words that they said. They said that they didn't fly them on Thanksgiving, so that must mean they're American and that must mean they're human. Okay, then that means they're either a hobbyist or they are part of the United States government. So where I'm at with it right now, excuse me, where I'm at with it right now is that if it's anything, it is United States government flying their own drones over their facility, which sounds silly, but why would they do that? And the only angle that I could logically come up with is to muddy the waters, to obfuscate, is like I was saying originally, to make people think, okay, regular drones is what everyone else is seeing. So even these nuclear sites that are being visited are just these regular drones. So that's the one thing that's still cooking for me. Or these things have something to do with something that we don't understand. Okay. So I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to tell you there. But based off of logic, and then me having that experience with that, I can, based off my own experience, I can, lean into this enough to be able to make an opinion on what it is that I think is going on. But like I said, I will never lean into it 100% and say extraterrestrials. My 47 UFOs that I got video of, those disappeared into thin air. Those weren't anything that I've ever seen before and haven't seen since. And I've seen examples of them in Mexico, and those I guess called flotillas. Those aren't from this planet for sure, 100%. This thing here, I'm 50-50. I'm really like right here, right? I'm right here, and like I said, it's either government owned drones flying over their own installations to try to trigger something, or they're not from here, man. Take your pick. Take your pick. So let's go ahead and bring in our guests for the night. Maybe they have some insight on this, and be able to add to the conversation.
Let's go ahead and bring in our guest for the night.
We got Ben Jim. Ben Jim, if you could turn your
be able to add
volume down a little bit on that. We're getting
Ben Jim, if you volume down a little bit on that. We're getting Ben Jim.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Okay, now I can hear you. So we have you up
Can you
here.
hear me now?
We have you up on the stage, and also Nikki. Let me.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey, Jim.
Hello. I'm here.
Hey,
I
great.
can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't.
There I am.
Can you hear us?
I can't hear you, Rob.
Okay, try to leave and come back in.
Nope, I can't hear you.
He did that.
Oh, he did?
I closed my YouTube
He did that already.
page,
He
and I
can't figure out what's
you
going on.
StreamYard at all.
That's why he had his other device on to hear you.
Okay, wow. So try coming in on that other device.
You can hear me, I think.
Type it in. Or do you want me to type it in?
Yeah, if he's able to see the chat.
Yeah, he's able to. Well, he's able to see the private
Can you
chat because
hear
I've
me
been
now?
talking to him.
Can you
via
hear me
that.
now? Nope.
Okay, let me look at that. Oh, I didn't see all this. You guys are asking me questions there. I didn't see all this.
Yeah, I was wondering. That's all
I can't
right.
hear you on StreamYard, Rob.
Okay.
I can't hear you on StreamYard.
Let me see. All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Leave studio. Come back. I come back.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
Hello. Hi.
Nikki. So yeah, just analyzing the drone thing, right? Analyzing.
Yeah.
So
I got
strange.
nothing psychically on it, but I am like, okay, why the heck isn't the US government pew-pewing it down? Just like, why? I mean, 3 foot. What? I had to get my tape measure because I'm like, okay, that's a long. That's a huge.
Yes.
That's huge. I mean,
Yes.
that's not. Do you know what one of those suckers cost? I mean, 3 feet. Hello, sorry. Okay, that we had a number of things on this one for me. I was like, wait a minute, that is huge. That is an enormous cost. Let alone the fact that you saw and they were three of these devices on top.
No, there were the
Or
lights.
two. Yeah, the lights on top.
There were at least
Spikes?
3, maybe 4.
Okay. I mean, I've never heard of something like that. I mean, drones. I'm used to seeing these long. They look like an octopus type of thing. Those are ET. Those are not government. Those are ET. I can verify that because I've seen those off planet. So, but this has got me really fascinated. And you're right. If this is what they're seeing, then why the heck are they not shooting it down? I mean, I love the logic you went through. It was beautiful. But seriously, if it makes me wonder if it's a combination of ET, U.S. government, because hello, I know, to me it's fact because I've part of stupid freaking space program. Sorry. Anyway, that would make sense to me if it's some kind of hybrid device. But then why would they make it so big? Because they can make little things, but why are they making it that big? I mean, that is something specific to take notice over. Deliberate. Like that, and to fly that low. You said something like 5 feet or 3 feet or something like that.
When I looked up at it, it was about 5 feet away from the top of the SUV, and it was coming down. It was like coming down.
Yeah. See, to me, that's targeted. To me, that is telling me that you were targeted, but why? Didn't you say nobody else was on the road? But
there were other people on the freeway. Highway 101 is kind of a busy freeway, but when you get to this part of Highway 101, it can get a little desolate. But there were definitely other cars, and it was still early enough in the night. It was only like 8:30, but it was just, you have to think, if someone is flying a drone, especially that big, you are pacing a car that is traveling 65 miles an hour, and then it's in the middle of nowhere. So where's the drone operator? There wouldn't be one. That's why I showed the area, because unless it was satellite, that's why I say, if it was something like that, where then that's where my whole government aspect comes in. But it's like, then why would they be following me? Like, why would they be following me down the freeway specifically? Right?
And how would they recognize you? I mean, if you get into the logic of it, how the heck would they recognize you? I mean, were they doing the license plate thing that the cops do? Because cops are very well known for doing that.
Right. I thought about that. But then, okay, so what's more effective? A police officer driving as well on the road, or someone that's stationary, a police officer stationary that wants to send a drone down the freeway? That just doesn't. I've never seen a case of it.
No, neither have I.
It's not effective, and I'm sure it would cost you more for you to do something like that. And maybe if you're trying to track the world's top terrorist or a high level target or something, do you bring tech like that in, there's no reason that something like that should have been where I was. And then there's no reason for the lights to have these spiky things on them. That was the other thing. And I've seen lights like if you look at the standard police lights, and that was the other thing. If you look at the police drones do have these little lights on them. They're small though, but they shine bright and they shine outwards. Yeah. Whereas these lights had like an inner glow, like they were illuminated from the inside, not necessarily, to cast light onto things. And so what's the purpose of that? Why would that be a thing? And then just using logic and going down the logical path, it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This makes it. Well, this doesn't make. And then kind of at the end of the day, when you put it all together, it literally is just strange. And there is no explanation for it except government, like you said, maybe controlling by satellite. But then why would they follow me? So now that logic is shot out the window.
Okay, so what if those 3 items on top or 4 items on top are sensors? And what if this was a test program or a test drone?
Could be.
I mean, sensor, I literally heard that from my dad. So, but I don't know, the test drone thing, that, I mean, they're known for doing cops, and they're known for doing all kinds of weird testing stuff, but I can't imagine, this has got to be U.S. government combined ET stuff, but I can't imagine they'd be doing something 3 feet in length. I mean, it just, wow.
3 feet in length, at least 3 feet in length. And that's what resonated with me when the lady was saying that that was the first night they showed one of these things in Jersey, and she said it was about the size of a SUV. No, she said the size of a car. And then that's when I'm like, okay, those things are huge. Those aren't small little things. They're huge. And then it kind of just more lined up with what it was that I saw. And then I'm like, you know what? There's a chance that characteristically and visually, those match for me. Now, I would love to see one of those drones really close up and see what the actual characteristics of it are close up. Because for me, just at the distance they showed it at, that views everyone, the angles everyone has seen, for me lined up with that message. And I was like, wow. Yeah, trying to send Rob a message, I don't know, because here's the other part of it. I've been exposed to all these different parts of the phenomena for whatever reason. I haven't searched out any of this stuff, but all this stuff has found me for whatever reason. And it just, when I think about that, then I'm like, is this just another thing? And then it's just, that's where I kind of stop, because I don't want to, I don't have enough to put it in an extraterrestrial category. I don't have enough to put it there. I can just say 50-50. I could say it was really strange, and I could tell you everything about it that didn't make sense. And then I could tell you how it aligns with what it is that we're seeing out there in New Jersey. And that's about where I'm at for now, because as we get more information from the whole Jersey thing, then I may be able to elaborate more, or it may connect other dots for me. But as for now, I'm at a 50-50 on if those things are extraterrestrial or not. I think what it is everyone is expecting orbs, or everyone's expecting the classical things that we see from extraterrestrials. I made a point earlier today that human beings, so many methods of travel that we have the ability to power a jet with a turbine engine. We can power a automobile with the combustion engine. We can power some trains that still are running, older trains with the steam engines. We can power things with our feet. So why wouldn't extraterrestrials have different levels of modes of transportation, or methods of propulsion, rather, I should say, Why would it only be orb form, or why would it only be tic tac form? Why wouldn't they have maybe lower levels of propose something they just send out, and maybe that's what we're seeing? I don't know, Nikki. I'm just throwing things around right now.
No, that you're doing exactly what I'd be doing. I mean, I get it. You're doing all the logic stuff and trying to figure things out. I was gonna say, I'm trying to be a good girl and not swear.
Oh, you're good to go. We're late night show. You're good.
So yeah, I'm at a loss. I mean, I'm just stunned. I think it's absolutely phenomenally cool that you got to see it. And you were asking why all of this now? Your frequency is raised. It's coming to you because you're a beacon. You're kind of like the beacon in the night. That's what happens. I mean, when folks start seeing stuff, it's because their frequency is usually raised a specific way.
Yeah, and it makes sense. That makes sense, Nikki. As we go ahead and we have Race Fan in the building, it looks like. And also Bim Jim is back. Can Jim hear us
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, let me try to I gotta pull you guys off and then add you back to bring you up on the screen. Hold on. Let me do it like this. Hold on. Like that, and like that. Okay, love. Race Fan, Nikki. We're all online. What were you wanting to say, Race Fan? I know you had something you want to bring up.
Well, I fly quadcopters. That's what I call them. I don't call them drones. And they have either 4 rotors, 6 rotors, or 8 rotors. The 6 rotors are called a hexacopter. The 8 rotor is an octocopter. That's what a lot of the agricultural companies use and what the police and stuff use. And those do have a span of 4 and 5 foot on the arms and across. And even movie companies have them so they can fly $100,000 cameras. The problem is they all have to be electric, because the motors spin at a different direction, and the computer inside of it tells it which way to spin the motors to make it turn left, right, go up and down.
Fascinating.
Let me ask you this, Rob. When that thing came down over your vehicle, did you hear any noise at all?
I had my sunroof closed, so I would say no. I would think, though, maybe if it was, I should have heard something, but I can say that because the sunroof was closed, I can't really determine if there was sound with it or not.
Okay, because quadcopters, the blades make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of the Chinese ones. I've got a race quad, and then I have a small DJI camera platform. And even that one, it makes a lot of noise. You get it close to something, and you're going to hear the propeller blades spinning. There's no getting away from that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they don't have a lot of range, or no, I shouldn't say range, runtime. Because, like, for example, the group that used to come out to the flying field, the RC flying field that I was a member of in the San Fernando Valley in California, there was a company, a video company that came out, and they would bring their quad out, and that was a octocopter, and it would only, and it would only fly for about 7 minutes. So to get something that's going to fly for a real long time, you would have to have a huge battery. And like you said, Nikki, that somebody said, or Rob, that said one looked like the size of a car. Well, that's how big it would have to be to have the battery that would let it fly a real long time.
Interesting.
Very, very awesome perspective too on that.
Learn something new every day. That was great info. Thank you.
It is. It actually makes, now I'm thinking about it. So what I saw shouldn't have, what I saw then, that means the thing I saw shouldn't have been able to follow a car down the freeway. It wouldn't have had the battery to do that. is for what I'm hearing. So, and then the sound there, I didn't really think about that. I just thought, okay, I was probably listening to music at the time, sunroof closed. So if it was making noise, maybe that would have overshadowed the noise. And maybe we could still leave that there. But the range part is interesting, race fan, because if you're saying 7 minutes would be about the time they would get flight time, you're not going to fly that. You're not going to chase a car with that. That's just not what you're going to do. So then that goes back, it goes more into that weird category of maybe this is something you don't. So what do you think then, race fan? What do you think we're seeing in New Jersey? What do you think those are?
Well, okay, for example, if it's multiple, there are companies that put on what they call drone shows. I think even Disneyland has one.
Yep.
But the thing is, it's not a human being standing there with a transmitter flying all of those. It's actually a computer program being flown by the computer.
Yep.
That's why I wish you would had your windows down. Then we could have probably told right away.
Yeah.
But if people are seeing these things and there's no sound, well, it ain't from this earth. Because as far as I know, there's no way you can make an internal combustion engine or like a model airplane engine spin clockwise and then change it and spin it counterclockwise, which is what you would have to do on a quadcopter, because that's how they steer. And the fastest they go, they have on ESPN, they have Drone Racing League.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the record that one of those little drones set was like about 180 miles an hour. And that's just with tiny little 4-inch propellers. Those big drones, they don't fly fast. My little quadcopter, if I put it in fast mode, the max it goes is about 18 miles an hour. And I can fly mine down the street from where I live and go maybe about a half a mile to 3/4 away. And then I start to get a little freaked out because the battery's getting low.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to take any chances. And if I want to, instead of flying it back, I can push a button that says return to home. And when you do that, it'll actually raise to a certain altitude, turn around and follow the path it came on, and then land right in front of you. So I think what you're seeing, like I said, stuff like that, it's not of this world at all. It ain't our government. It ain't the Chinese.
Yeah,
or the Russians.
It's definitely not them. We're not letting them fly those things over here. There's just you can never make me believe at all at any point that America would allow any foreign adversaries to be flying those drones for weeks in a row over since it just no. Okay. But here's a report that came out with one of these encounters with the drones is that someone said they reported to the news that as one of these drones flew or hovered above their car or flew above, it affected the clock in their car, where their clock malfunctioned. And then once the drone passed, the time corrected itself. They reported that to the news, and the news reported that in one of their stories. So, okay, you could look at that and say, maybe that person lied to the reporter. You could say that, or if it's a true statement, then there's no. Could you think of a way that a regular drone or quadcopter race fan would affect someone's clock? Is there in any world would a regular quadcopter, as far as be able to affect someone's clock in their car?
Not to my knowledge. Not. I've sat in the cab of my truck and had the thing hovering over the top of the truck, and it doesn't do anything like that. No, it would have to be putting out something that, I don't think we have any, some kind of electronic interference, which once again, how are you going to power it? Because you got to have the battery to power the flight pack, the motors and the electronics in that. So Yeah, and like I said, the biggest thing is you got to listen and see if you hear propeller noise.
Yeah.
If you hear propeller noise, then it's something that is earthly. But if there's no propeller noise, and most quadcopters do not have lights on them. Some of them have. They'll have two green lights on the front and two red lights on the back, and that's mainly for when the battery goes down. It starts flashing. Same thing on my little quad. It has a little light on the front that faces forward, and then on the back it has a red light. It's green when the thing's flying, but when it gets down to a certain point, it starts flashing red, and then I get a warning through my phone telling me that it's time to land, because I have my phone set up on a transmitter so I can see through the camera.
Excuse me for interrupting a minute. Rob, may I come back a little later? I've got a situation with somebody that I need to take care of.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a question I'd like to ask you, but it's going to have to wait now. So thank you, sir.
Yep. Talk to you in a minute.
Yep.
Dr. Love, I see you're here. Did you want to chime in on this conversation?
Hey y'all, sorry, had to clear my throat. Wasn't expecting that. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and we saw you just a minute ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So my feelings on the situation is we're the United States. We're supposed to be the best military in the world. I feel like that's true. We spend the most for sure. That's apparent. We are aware that the Pentagon has lost not billions, at least $1 trillion of money that's unaccounted for.
35.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, this is unbelievable. I didn't even realize it was that high. Like just $1 trillion. I mean, if you just realize what $1 billion is to a normal person. But my feelings is that, of course, there's black projects. We know who Blackwater is. We're not unfamiliar with Halliburton and how they played a part in 9/11 and setting up that war. We know war makes money. It typically boosts an economy, or it did in the olden days. But needless to say, I feel like if it's got flashing lights and it's on our territory, it is not unfamiliar to the powers that be, or it wouldn't make it. It's not going to get allowed to fly all the way across the country and drop to North Carolina waters like the balloon entity, last year, or whenever it was. Right now, I'm not thinking about that date, but needless to say, like, the only reason we would not retaliate on anything that is unknown is if we feared it. And why would the United States of America fear it? We're the biggest and the baddest. If we fear something on our territory and our airspace, it is because it is unknown, and that is scary. But they're not going to let it just drop into the North Carolina waters, okay? I'm sorry. But I could be wrong. That's a whole other thing too. But yeah, if it's got flashing lights on it, we can see all these drones and stuff. There's some kind of agreement going on. It is definitely what, I hate that term, but a false flag of a sorts. And they absolutely should test our radar operators and all these people that work for the FAA, because they need to be on it, because that can cause, civilian casualties. If there is a legitimate threat, we got to get our people out of the skies, right? Out of the skies. Dave made a point. It's not skies, it's sky guys. Get them out of the sky. But yeah, I'm just like, no, I'm not too worried about it. I know I saw an amazing drone show China put on for entertainment purposes, but come on, y'all. Them people train. They are the best athletes. They got this tech. They're flying drones Now that concerns me a little, but also the United States is not going to allow none of that. Really, come on.
Yeah, and you make great points, Dr. Love. You really do. And here's some things I want to add to that, truthfully, because when you look at us having all that money put into these black projects, so if we were testing something of ours, because you go to the flashing lights, and I kind of wanted to ask you about this too, race fan, about the flashing lights, right? So let me ask you first. So with the mandate for that the FAA imposes to have lights on your craft, what's the require? What are the requirements there? Can you hear me, race fan?
Oh, I'm sorry, you were talking to me.
Yeah.
For basically civilian and commercial aircraft, you have a red and a green light on the wingtips. And on the rear, I'm trying to remember if it's a red light on the vertical stabilizer, which would be the rudder. But you do have lights, and then they have landing lights, like even on a private aircraft, they do have a headlight near the nose gear. So if you fly at night and for landing, but and the other thing I wanted to ask you, did you notice if it even had propellers? How many arms it might have had?
Yeah, see, I couldn't tell if it had propellers, and my thinking now is that maybe they were just spinning so fast that I couldn't see them. But
Right.
I did not see propellers. And that would be obviously a big clue right there if it didn't have propellers. But I'm just more of trying to go down the logical road, right? So when I ask you about the FAA lights, and because I think what a lot of people do is when we're looking up in the sky and people are trying to determine whether what they're seeing is man-made or UFO, one of the things they look at is, oh, it has flashing lights, so it must be something that man-made. I'm not in that
Right.
boat. So I'm not in that boat, because if I'm an extraterrestrial coming to this planet and I'm going to be in the sky, I want to blend in with things that fly in the sky. There's something called mimicry. And I've talked about this before. I would mimic. We know they have lights. They've had lights on them from the beginning of time. But as far as people saying, oh, they're blinking in this specific pattern that the FAA requires you to have, if I'm UAP or UFO, I could pretty much mimic that blinking pattern. It wouldn't be too hard to do that. And
No, it wouldn't.
and so that's why there's a lot of people that write it off immediately and say, "Oh no, it had flashing lights on it, so it's definitely that's a drone. It's not a UFO." So when we look at these things, we're seeing these things in New Jersey with that same light pattern, right? So, and I just want people, when they're trying to also think through this, to not write it off just because these things are up there flashing lights. And the other thing is that people will kind of be looking at and maybe making their decisions based off of is the fact that in some of these videos, the drones are making sound as they fly over. And when you talk to people who say UFOs aren't supposed to make any sounds at all, well, who wrote the rule book on that? Who wrote the rule book to say that UFOs never make any sounds at all, when we know that Lonnie Zamora in the craft that he saw when it lifted up off the ground, these things make humming noises. We've heard of buzzing noises, like they sound like bees. We've heard of different, types of sounds that these things make. So, I just want to put that out there, because as we all try to figure this out, you're just gonna have
Right.
people say, no, well, it made sounds. So it made sounds, so it must be a regular drone, or it had flashing lights, so it must be a regular drone. But just knowing that those two things don't necessarily solidify the fact that and tell the story on if it was man-made or not just those things alone. So I just want to put that out there.
Right. Well, one thing, that any of the quadcopters that do have lights, they don't flash, they just stay on. Now, this is mine. This is my little DJI. And the other thing is too, is this does not record audio. It only records video. The arms fold so I can fold it up, and the camera's right under here. And if you look right there, that's the front light. And then when I turn it around, okay, that's the rear light right there. Now, the other thing that I have for it is I have a set of landing gear that I can clip on the bottom here, and it's got a strip of LED lights on it. And if I want to take this out at night, which I do, I don't really fly out. I did it one time. I flew down the road at like midnight, and I got really freaked out because if something happens, I'm going to lose this thing. But the one that I put on the bottom, that's so I can keep an eye on it, because you're only supposed to go 400 feet, but I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. So I go all the way up to the max, which is 1,640 feet. And that's why I have that light on the bottom so I can see where it's at, even though I just go straight up. I don't go forward, back, or anything. I keep it in that one place. But yeah, like I said, this thing just flies along. And the other thing is too, is it's hard to do the audio because it picks up the blade noise. The bigger quads, you can put say a GoPro on it. But the thing is, you pick up the propeller noise no matter what. So that's part of it too.
Isn't there's a requirement, right, before you have to register it with the FAA? There's, I think, a weight requirement.
Remind us.
250 grams or something like that, or
249 grams, which is what this is. It does not have to be registered. Okay. Anything above that, like for example, a DJI Phantom or a DJI Inspire, you're supposed to register that with the FAA. And then if you fly it for money, you're supposed to have the 107 flight certificate, to be able to fly legally to make money. But who's really going to know, that sort of thing.
So what happens? So when you have something that's 250 grams or higher, what do they require you to do? What does the FAA require you to do?
Well, if it's over 259 grams, you have to apply for a, shall we say, a drone license. Okay. And what that does is it's well, not really a license, I'm sorry. You just have to register it. What you do is you give them the information on what you have, and you get an actual registration number that you're supposed to put on your quadcopter. And then also the newer ones actually are supposed to transmit out your number. So if you're somewhere where you shouldn't be, somebody will know who you are and where you are. But see, one of the interesting things is most of these, like this one here, if I'm too close to an airport, it won't fire up. It won't let me fly it. That's built into the software that's inside here. So, and then I was going to say, I'm familiar with the area that you were driving through, and that area, it's dark. There ain't a lot of lights there. So I can understand why you didn't really see a whole lot.
Oh yeah, on 101. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to get across to everybody, because you saw that whole area. That turnoff was a weird one anyways. It took you way out to the side and then brought you back over the freeway. And that whole area is completely black, pitch dark. So, so let me ask you this. I know you said, and I just want to clarify. So if you're above 250 grams, or it's 249, and then above that, you have to register with the FAA. So above 249, do they require you were talking about lights, they don't necessarily blink. Do they require you to add lights to your drone in order to fly like at night?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't read everything up on that because I don't have a bigger one that's over 249 grams, so I've never really looked it up. But I don't believe so, because I know people that have those type, and they don't have any kind of lights like what an FAA licensed airplane would have.
It makes me concerned
Okay.
because I'm like, why does it
So
seem
I
to be
think we
following me
know-
to the store?
I think we
It's
know for
disturbing.
sure. I think we know for sure that the drones that we are seeing
I hope I'm muted.
would have to be. Nope, you're not muted.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Nope, I'll mute you. Though,
You
right
just
now.
let me do all that.
Yeah, you were doing all that exactly. It's on. You can watch it back. It's in the archives.
Oh no.
So yeah, no, but because here's my thing. FAA for me obviously is a agency that's buddy with the government. So they're not going to, let anyone know what they know about what these things are either anyways. That's not going to come out through them. But there's so many things that point to either they can't control. They're like Love Dr. Love said earlier, it almost indicates they're scared of these things because they don't know what they are, and or they're ours, and they're just flying them over these installations for more of a display for the rest of the world to see. Like there isn't anything to UFOs. There's simply these drones that. But here's my thing. I would think if they were going to do that, if they were going to position it as these are adversary drones or these or man-made drones that could be a threat, wouldn't they fly the ones that we see like in the war that they're having over in Russia? Wouldn't they be more the smaller tactical sort of drones that you'd be afraid of, those sort of swarms, than seeing these big huge SUV size things? That's why that part doesn't make sense to me. I would think
I agree.
drone swarms with 100 of these small ones that are carrying little grenades or whatever you're doing overseas. That's way more scary than seeing this big old lumbering thing up in the sky. So just
No, I'm sure those are smaller, and they're probably just as maneuverable as the race quads, and they probably go fairly quick. But still, those are. Those are what somebody's made. I don't know where they're getting those. In other words, I don't know the military. I'm sure the military has their own quadcopters. But like I said, the biggest thing is how far are you going to be able to fly it with the battery on board?
Yeah.
The further you want to go, the bigger battery you're going to have.
Oh, yeah.
So unless they got some kind of weird technology running those electric motors without a battery, I don't know.
Here's what the skeptics are going to say, because the skeptics have already been saying for the last few years, just off the UAP, the actual UFOs we're seeing, they're saying, oh, those UFOs you're seeing are actually ours, and they're running off of like nuclear energy or things like that. So this is going to be the thing that they'll want to say, is that they can stay up that long because they're running off of nuclear power or something along those lines. Like, and then it's like, okay, how do you combat that in a conversation? I don't know that you can, because technically they might have the ability to power something using nuclear power. You know what I mean? So I think maybe that's where the conversation goes next. If they can't prove that they're man-made some other way, I think that's where the skeptical conversation takes the next turn. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think nuclear power, how small are you going to make a reactor? That would be one way to do it. If you were able to make a reactor that small and mount it, on something to fly, you could probably make one car sized or even smaller. But, how small do you need to go? Even though I have heard that the military does have a radio controlled either Hummingbird or Mosquito type aircraft that has a really nice camera on it that can see just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think it's overkill for what we're seeing. Like, if this is just someone bringing out government tech. It's just the things we're seeing are overkill just based off the size. There's just no, I mean, an SUV size thing, it
Mhm.
just doesn't make sense. But my whole thing is, and trying to open up the conversation to other things, is just not staying under the assumption that if it's extraterrestrial, it's this super stealth thing that can be undetectable if it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because the moment you see something and it makes noise, then people immediately are marking it off the list saying that it's not extraterrestrial because it's making noise. Extraterrestrial craft, everybody knows they're silent. They don't make any noise at all. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if we could hang our hat on that.
I have heard that, I've read a lot of stuff about UFO sightings, in the past around Roswell, and I have heard stories that some of, shall we say, the extraterrestrial craft that people are seeing have made noise. But then there are some that have been totally silent. So
Right.
where does that put everything?
And we would need to understand their technology to understand if it would be something that's silent the entire time. Because if you look at Cash Landrum, they write that off as man-made tech because it was shooting fire out the bottom of it. Well, we know that with the Lonnie Zamora thing, and I think there's other cases that I'm just not thinking of, where to get up off the ground was one stage, and then it sat there and hovered for a second before it shot itself off. But it appeared to be two different, levels or two different methods of one getting off the ground and then two propulsion. So though that, we don't know because we don't, well, maybe they do, the people that have retrieved the crafts and are trying to reverse engineer, maybe they know, but just in the general conversation, the public's just under the belief that if it's a UFO, then it makes no sound at all, and it must exhibit one of the 5 observables, or if it doesn't do that, then it's not a UFO. And I'm just like, we probably need to get out of that sort of thinking or that side of mindset, because if that wasn't the rule, then we could probably look at these things and say that there's something to what we're seeing here. You know what I mean? But just based off of the rules that we've set for ourselves, then we're almost throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which is another reason why we end up throwing away really good evidence and sightings because it made noise, or because it didn't zip off at 1,000,000 miles an hour because it kind of went slow. My UFOs went slow. The only thing that my UFOs did, now, if I didn't watch my UFOs the whole time and see them disappear, then technically they wouldn't have exhibited any of the 5 observables. The only observable was the fact that it was able to disappear. It didn't zip off at lightning speed or anything like that. And there's cases where these same objects don't do that. So I think we kind of hurt ourselves kind of making those the rules that they need to meet this standard to be a UFO. And I think that dealing with the case we're dealing with now with these drones, or whatever they want to call them, that if we're just going to go into this applying those rules, then we will never take the time to understand what these things really are. Because like I said, I'm 50-50. I still say man-made, and I'm not going to go say they're extraterrestrial, but they're really freaking strange, and they're doing weird things that man-made things shouldn't be able to do, as far as being over bases and things like that.
Yeah. And I mean, also, what would you really need to fly at night for? And then here's the thing: when you say UFO, it's kind of like, say you're out somewhere and say there's a Cessna 150 out there coming at you, but you can't really tell what it is. Well, technically, that's a UFO.
Right.
But now, say if you see a structured saucer, round, or say a triangle, or a cigar shaped, and you're seeing structure, well, to me, that's an extraterrestrial craft. That's not a UFO. You know, yes, it is flying, but looking at it, I can tell. I mean, we don't have anything that's triangular. Somewhat, there is that one that they fly that's stayed up for like a year. The S-39 or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But we don't have anything that can do what they do, what extraterrestrial craft do. In other words, making 90-degree turns at speed, flying at 10,000 miles an hour. We don't have that technology yet. I mean, even the X-15 only went like 6,000 miles an hour. And that's with one person. And that's a torpedo shape, which I think if somebody saw that, they might say, yeah, that's a UFO. But, you know, it's still powered by a jet engine.
Yeah, and Maggie M10 makes a good point here. But if it really is government tech, the safest place to fly them is over a base. No one is going to shoot it out of the sky there. Question mark, perhaps, maybe. Yeah, I mean, you're right in saying that, right? I mean, obviously, the safest place would be if they still wanted to show these things to people, but then also not have it shut down. Then, yeah, flying it over its own base would make sense. But you know, we got to get into the whys, though. Like, why would they do it? You know, and come up with something that sounds logical. Like, why would they take the time to do that? Why would they do it? Why would they just fly over civilian neighborhoods? Like, why? Is there
I don't think they would.
logical reason? Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's
if they're going
to
if they're going to test something, they're going to do it over the base. You know, they're not going to fly it out over the public. I mean, same thing with, you know, the B-2 bomber, the stealth, all of those things. They didn't test those things over civilian neighborhoods.
right.
You know,
And there's so much desert, and there's so much places where they actually test black projects, which is where you fly the things. If you wanted to test them, you'd take them out there. That's the training.
Area 51.
Yeah,
That's what Area 51 is for.
Dugway Proving Ground. All those
Dugway,
places out
yeah.
there. So it's like, you know, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Because, you know, if you had a board in front of you, a whiteboard, and like I said, Venn diagram or whatever, you know, you're doing process of elimination, using logic to try to get to something that makes the most sense, right? And so that's why we have these conversations, because, you know, we're talking through all that. Does this make sense? Well, this makes sense, but does that, and then kind of framing it to where we can get to at least somewhere a lot closer to the answer than we were coming into the conversation. And you know, like I said, I think we should rewrite the rules on the 5 observables, and also just the notion that UFOs don't make noise. I think if we got rid of both of those rules, because otherwise they don't really apply. I mean, it wouldn't, either it's still a UFO or it's not, regardless if those rules are in place or not. So I think it would probably help us in a lot of cases to kind of, you know, take those rules out, because I think, yeah, of course, if they exhibit one of the 5, then it's got to be something really, really strange. So I understand why the rules are there, and I understand the standard of making no noise, that there's nothing that we make that can make no noise and fly. So I understand why those are there, but at the same time, you can't make that the rule to say if they don't do these things, then they're not UFOs, right? And I think that's kind of where we're stuck at, and why we can't just automatically, you know, why a lot of people are just making rush judgments to what these things are, and you know, that we're trying to figure out right now. I think we got Bomber here too. Bomber is joining the stage. Welcome to the stage, Bomber.
Hi, Robbie Sweet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just great.
Okay.
I'm going to go use the little boy's room. I'll be back.
Yep,
Oh,
we'll be right
Hey,
here.
hey, baby.
remember to mute your mic.
Oh, that part. Let me do that for you.
Hey, honey.
Oh, my love.
Bomber,
Oh,
glad to have you. Glad to have you. And what did you want to say? What did you want to add to this?
Um, well, I don't really I can't I feel like I don't have enough information to form an opinion on anything yet, but I wanted to share something that I really feel is related to it.
Okay.
So I have I don't know if this like I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
Yep. Take your time.
Um, so I have premonition dreams, and they stand out. Like I've done a lot of work with my dreams through the years, and so I have some really intense dreams. But I've had some dreams since I was really little that, and I have a terrible memory. So when I can remember the dreams in detail and they stick with me, there's something like there's a feeling to these dreams that um, I can't really describe it, but it's like another sense.
Hmm.
And when I was really young, probably in the early 80s, um, I had this dream that stuck with me, and when I woke up, it haunted me, and it stuck with me since. Um, it was the sky, and there were craft, and I mean at the time, in the early 80s, there were no drones, like we didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about, you know, anything really, you know, and there were crafts in the sky, and they were flying all over the place. They filled the sky, and the shape of them really stuck with me. And I've never seen anything like it since, um, until last night. And I haven't been digging into this because I'm so over the drone thing. I just have no interest in drones at all. I'm repelled by them. But something did come up on my YouTube, and I clicked on it, and it was a video of the drones and whatever. And they all seemed to look a little bit different, but there were some that looked exactly like the ones in my dream when I was little. I
Wow.
mean, exactly. They're triangular, and they're very distinctly shaped.
Yeah.
Um, and they were in the dream. They were flying all over the place. There was many of them, and there was shooting going on. It was basically A versus B, and it was question mark of threat. So
Mm.
I don't know what that means. I'm not going to start to analyze it yet because I don't have enough information to
Right.
really try to understand that. But I felt like it was prevalent, um, to share that because there's some
Yeah.
kind of correlation there. It felt like there was a correlation there. I
No.
mean, I haven't seen these crafts anywhere since the dream, and it's something that has really stuck with me. But I saw it last night in a video.
See, and that's essentially how I felt because I had packaged that the encounter I had just back in the back of my mind. Said, okay, there's nothing to it, and then this thing brought it out too. That, and you said the perfect thing. We just not enough information there to kind of go all the way through the thought experiment because but I think that day is going to come because they stayed in the sky for 2 weeks and they're still there according to reports tonight. So there has to be a moment where, like I said before, people who run the satellite systems see where these things are going. They know if they're just disappearing. They know if they're going in the water. They know if they're going to someone's home or wherever these things are going. So I
Mm.
think we'll get answers to a lot of these questions hopefully soon. If
Yeah, I think
anyone is being straight up with the with the humanity, with the public period, we should get answers soon.
we should, but the problem is they're hiding so much from us, and they don't want us to know everything. But I think the public knows more than they do in some aspects, like the important stuff. But like but they also know more than us in some aspects of important stuff. So if we could only come together and really share what's actually happening, we would have answers, more answers. But they hide from us, and we're like, it's like there's a big wall between them and us, and uh, and I understand
Here's-
they don't want to cause mass hysteria, but
Yeah.
also they also have the threat narrative. So it's kind of like, pick what the hell's going on.
Here's why they're up against the wall. This is why they're up against the walls, because the skies aren't classified, and they're not the only ones that can track these things. There was a guy I saw on YouTube. I was watching him last night. He had 400 subscribers when when he went live that night. By the time I started watching him, he was up to like 1,300 subscribers, and all he was doing was hopping in his car trying to follow the drones. And that's a great idea. First of all, I'm like, okay, if they come out this way, I would do the same thing. But that's why I say there's going to be an answer to it, because someone's going to follow one to wherever it ends up landing at, or they're going to find out that they followed it, and then it just disappeared, or it did something really anomalous or strange, which is going to now kick it into a whole nother category. Or there's private citizens or private companies that have access to some of those satellites up there that can easily also see what's going on down here too. So I think the government now, that's why I feel like it couldn't be them, because China for sure has satellites that would be able to watch these drones go back to their origin spots. Any of these adversary countries have the ability with their own satellites up there to watch these drones from the moment they touch the sky to watch wherever they end up going at the end of the night, to know if they're government tech or not. So that's why I think, when you throw stuff like that out there, that's what takes the government or man-made part of it off the table for me, is because there's no way to hide it at this point. Either it's anomalous or it's not. But I think the answer is coming soon. Somebody is going to step forward and say they tracked it all the way to this place and it just disappeared, or it landed on this boat, and this is who the boat belongs to, and then we'll get more to the story. But I think it's coming. It's coming soon.
The stuff is going to definitely be coming out soon, because, well, I mean, like, it has to, but also I've had other dreams that have shown me what's to come. And it's, some people are going to be afraid. In our community, it's not going to be like that, because we already know most of us have had experiences, and those who haven't they're listening to other people's experiences, and I think enough people know now, like, hey, stop, something's going on. But what's going to come out is it's going to scare a lot of people who are stuck in their cognitive dissonance, who aren't able to open their mind to the concept that there are other beings out there, and that they've been here. The government, they have no control over them, really. So I think that scares them a lot. But other countries are more open about all this stuff, and they're people are talking more, and this is happening all over, right? I heard somebody say yesterday, why is this only happening in the States? Well, look, it's not. It's not only happening in the States. It's happening all over the place. But when the time comes, it's really great too what you were saying about people videotaping it, or doing live streams with it, because even though some people, they're going to keep their head stuck in the sand, and they're not, because of their cognitive dissonance, they're not going to be able to accept even what they're seeing. They'll chalk it up to not Photoshop, whatever AI and all that crap. But there's going to be a lot of people that recognize this. If you're listening to your gut and your instincts, your higher conscious knows when you're seeing something that's real. And sure, sometimes we're going to be mistaken, but when you saw what you saw, that's something. It's not a nothing. And when you're hearing somebody speaking the truth, you know it. You feel it. It's more of a feeling. And I think a lot of people are going to be waking up to that. And it's great that you said there was 500, did you say on the chat? And then all of a sudden there was, what did you say, 1,300?
Oh yeah, yeah, 400, and then when I joined or watched, it was 1,300. Yeah.
Okay, so now imagine all those people who, they weren't present in the beginning, but then they were. Now all those people are going to, not everybody, but a lot of those people are going to share that or talk about it. And I'm sure that everybody listening hears it more being spoken when you're out and about, from people who you wouldn't expect to be talking
Yes.
about it. So the more people who wake up, the more people will wake up. And it's really important to share our experiences, even though I know we're scared. And like, I'm not afraid of anything, but well, spiders and this, like, sharing our experiences is a really big deal. um the 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 backlash from that, unless you've had experiences and shared them and lost people because of that, people that you really loved and cared about, then then you wouldn't understand. But if you have, or if you can empathize with that, you can understand why it would be why somebody would be hesitant to share. But it's so important that we do, because the more we share, the more people are going to learn, and we're not learning very much from the government. So we're going to learn from each other. And I don't know where I'm going on this tangent.
You are going in great directions and places with that, Ashley. You're doing great, Bomber. And actually, here's what I would say too. I mean, one of the good points about how this is playing out is, like you stated, the guy who went live, because now he is exposing a whole lot of other people to bringing attention to the topic. But the thing I really loved about so far that's been going on is these neighbors, these people who are in these neighborhoods were talking about how scared they were and how frightening this is. And then I watched the story being covered on the news, and they're like, this is frightening, this is terrifying, what is
Yeah.
going on. Now this is the energy we need to be having, because this is what's going to get more attention. But you would think, if this has to do with any person that's doing this at the point where now everybody's focused on it, you would have figured, okay, they would have stopped by now. They said, okay, that's enough, because I'm about to get caught, whether it's a person doing it or whether it's a government doing it. Like, hey, the jig's about to be up. They're going to catch us. We're going to be caught in the act of flying these drones. But they continue even after the focus is on them. So that's another thing that just points to me that it can't be a man-made thing. It has to be more to that story, which is why I'm feeling more and more like I could be at 50-50 with, maybe it's got to do with something not from here,
Yeah.
and maybe it's human beings, but so much focus globally is on this now. You would have figured they would have got out before it got to this point, but they're still doing it. And
Right.
so who does?
That's where, like, when I say that I can't form an opinion because I don't have enough information. Well, it's kind of it's not actually true if I'm putting any trust in my dreams, which I do, because they've proven to me that they've been real in the past, and they will be real more, like in the future. Like, I know that. I know these. I've had so many of my dreams validated, to show me that they're they are they are real. So there's more to that. When the time comes, the I'll say ultra terrestrial, because Mutu says that. I like that. Ultra terrestrial. They don't care what our government thinks. So when they're going to show themselves, they're just going to show themselves, and they're not waiting for the government to decide when and what and how. It's going to be on their terms. And they are conscious of us and how much they show us at once. The message I received was they want to show us more, but not too much all at once, because they recognize that we are afraid. And in another vision I had it was a dream. It was very vivid. It was after I don't know if we can say the plague, whatever
Mm,
the
yep.
plague that we just went through. So excuse me, I'm gonna lose my voice. I don't talk very much. Um, in the dream, it was post plague. There were um, and now this dream happened before the plague, so I didn't even understand why are people wearing masks. There were still people wearing masks in this dream. It was in a city, and it wasn't um, late at night. People were still awake and up and about. There were people visiting in homes. There was, there was people were out and about. It wasn't complete isolation, but people were still wearing masks. Some, and this huge craft landed in the middle of the city, and they just came out. There was no. That's just how it was. They just came out of the craft, and it was like, hey, you know. Um, can you still hear me?
Yep, definitely can.
So in my dreams, they're not always black and white. Like this is what it is. A lot of times I have to interpret,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm not saying that that's exactly how it's going to happen. But the fact that people were still wearing masks, and in the dream I got the sense that it was post plague, but I didn't understand what that meant. And then the plague happened. So then I'm thinking, okay, it's after the plague ends, then they're going to show up and they're going to, and then here we are. And now all of a sudden, this dream from my childhood is coming back, and there's a bunch of other stuff. Rob, there's so much,
Yeah, they're
but
all intersecting. They're all
it's all
intersecting these
intersecting.
lines.
Yeah, it's so
And
it's
I'll throw one more in there. Like I think I said this a few weeks ago with when Trump got elected. I had someone who told me like a few weeks before, said I just have this vision that I see Trump winning this election, and I also see that this is going to be the last election. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, really? I mean, there's nothing really indicate this yet. Da, 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 da. And then, okay, he wins the election. So now my mind is blown real quick. And I go back to this person. I'm like, wow, there was nothing that indicated for you to call that, and you did. So now I'm looking at this last election thing, and I'm trying to decipher or determine what that means. And then we get the moment that we're in right now, which potentially could be them doing, like as you said, and just coming out and showing themselves. Because I feel like the one of the things that would shake up society as we know it, and then maybe even affect if we do another election or if we put it off for a little bit until we sort things out, would be a moment of disclosure. And so for me, it's like, okay, does that mean disclosure happens within 4 years, the next 4 years? Because it's kind of what that's how you could potentially interpret the last election, being that some event happens that changes the way that we do things. And that could be essentially maybe we're experiencing right now. And maybe this is the beginning stages of that process.
it
And
is, yes,
once
it's
again, it
all
just
related. It's
say
all
again.
related. It's all related, and you're right.
Whew.
There's a lot that's going to be happening right now in the next little bit, and it has started. And we have nothing to be afraid of. This is the thing, though, that like there's a huge threat narrative.
Mhm.
We have nothing to be afraid of. We are eternal beings. Okay, we never die. We only transition. This is an exciting
Yes.
time. It's an exciting time. This is a time of change and evolution, and some of it, yes, is going to be scary because change to
Mm.
humans is scary. But it doesn't need to be, and we have that choice. Um, if we just think of it, think of it as a transition into a different state or a different phase of life. Of it's it's huge changes are about to happen, and they are happening. But even more is going to happen. And we get to be here for this. you know, people years and years and years ago wondering what's going to happen in the future. And for a long time, looking back, we can see these stages of changes that happen, right? Big progress in short amount of time. And we get to live through a time where there will be massive changes. And it's
Mhm.
not all going to be great, okay? It's going to be harder before it gets I want to say better, even
Yeah.
though for people like me, if anybody who knows me, I'm such an old fashioned, like, I just want to live in the woods and just live in a tree. And I don't want to, I don't want to be a part of any of this, but also, it's also, my spirit
I
tells
want
me
to
this is
come
a very
there.
exciting time. Yeah, you come and live in the tree with me. But it's also a very exciting time if we listen to our spirit. That's why we are here. We're here to experience this and help the progression and the conscious,
Yeah.
the collective conscious and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, it's some really exciting things going to happen, and we're on the um, we're on the other side of where now, and we see it happening every day. There's more and more truth coming out. The bad guys are going down, okay, and the good guys are winning. And this has been ongoing, and it's going to continue. Like, the momentum has been building, and it will continue to build. And we're going to start to see it happening more like faster, more increasing momentum. And um, yeah, I think speculating anything at this point is not really helpful for us. I think it's best for us to maybe take a step back and just watch sometimes and see how things are playing out, because nothing is as it seems. And there's a lot that we don't know about, that when we find out, it will change how it'll change everything.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, well said. Well said. And I mean, everybody has a different part to play in this too, because there's still, and that's why I would say, especially with the government thing. Are you okay? You guys want to sit over there and you want to wait for them to come out with something? Okay, I'm just not going to do it. You may be suited to do so, and I'm totally fine with you being over there doing that. And everybody has their own part to play in this whole thing. And yeah, this is the beginning of something. At the very least, this is the beginning of awareness at the very
Yeah.
least, and
Oh yeah,
that's
at
a
the very
beautiful
least.
thing in itself. Just
Yeah.
more people being aware, just feeling that scary moment. And yeah, it may, okay, it turns out to be some guy flying a drone, okay, but you felt that fear in the moment. It awakened something within you, and that's kind of what we needed in
Yeah.
this moment. And I love it, either however it turns out.
Exactly, exactly. And like, I mean, if we look at it as an exciting time to be alive, it makes it a lot easier to go through, and don't give in to the threat narrative. Even if it does, there's going to be moments where it feels kind of scary. That's we're humans, and I think that's a natural emotion to feel, to change, to big change, which we're about to experience. But in the grand scheme of things, it's very exciting. And the government, the funny thing is, the government's sitting back with their paperwork, twiddling their thumbs, going, whoa, well, I think that we should do this next, and we're going to take little steps. I'll tell you something. The beings do not care. they're not they're not on the government's timeline, you know. Um, it's
And they know that, and I think they're afraid of that too, on some level, because they know they don't have any control of them coming out. Now, the only way they would, and this is kind of where we get into some other stuff, is if they were actually in communication with the government, like some people believe. And I don't know that that's a true thing. And I mean, we talked to Lauren Eisenhower. It was supposed to be her great granddad who was part of that. She says no. So okay, so
I think
then
they
the
are. I
government
think they
isn't in
do.
contact.
You know what? I think they do. I think they do have, because I've heard enough. I've heard enough at this point that feels if that feels right or not right. It's not right that they're doing this, but I've heard enough that feels true. I should say true to me. That they are holding some beings or have held some beings, and I think that they're not being held in a um, how can I say this? Not in a friendly manner. Like they might be being somewhat civilized, but I feel like they're being held like captive, basically, like prisoners. Even if they're given some freedom within the base or wherever they are, that they're not there by choice. And I feel, and this is just my feelings. It doesn't mean anything. It could be way off base and it could change tomorrow how I feel. But just right now, I feel that some of these things that we're seeing are military or government, or I should say, and that it is a distraction because there's stuff going on that they have no control over and they don't know what to do about it. So rather than address the public and let them know that, how serious this potentially could be, and that they have even though they have admitted they have no control over this, but to really come out and let the public know that, hey, this is not us and this is not them and we don't know who it is. So um, I think that they're putting out their own crafts at the same time as to cause a distraction, um, so that you know they have somewhat some control, or they feel like they're in somewhat control. um, and these beings, the thing is they communicate telepathically. So same as we do on the other side, it's all telepathic. And all humans have this ability. It's like a muscle. If you use it, it'll strengthen, and if you don't use it, you'll lose it. um,
Hmm.
but they communicate telepathically very easily, as a main source of communication. And so it just, I get this feeling that the government holding these hostage, terrestrial, ultra terrestrials, could potentially be threatening them, um, to somehow communicate with the others. But I don't know that they're all connected. So, and, it's a lot of speculation. Just don't listen to me with that. I don't know.
This is no, this is what you do. I mean, you throw something at the wall, see if it sticks. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But that allows us to kind of get that off the table and kind of focus on the other things. So no, it's
And
great to have this conversation.
so many different beings too. Like they're not all the same. I don't know. Some people refer to them as different races. Well, there's different ones. So then they're not all in communication, I'm sure. So
Yeah, see, that's where things start to become a little unclear, when we get to that point. Just like there's parts of this that we're not ready to figure out yet, right? We're still we figured out they're here. We figured out that they're taking people. We're still like at those early stages of getting to understandings, and uh, you know, I think once we get further down the line, then we'll be able to figure out the races and how many of them are there really. And because I don't know if people really know the answer to that. I don't think there's a person on this planet that really has that answer. I know there's people that like to claim that they do, or
right.
like to kind of come across like that, but we know historically, the
We
people
don't know.
who do that.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know anything.
Yeah,
This is It makes me laugh, Rob. It makes me laugh when people claim like very specific details about things. Um, and I'm sure I fall into that category sometimes, unknowingly, not even realizing it. But we don't know. As humans, we need to understand that we don't know anything. We are only seeing a portion of what is in front of us because our eyesight is so limiting. Our whole like we think we're some kind of powerful beings. We are not. Okay, we are not. People say, oh, we have humans are smarter than animals. No, we're comparing apples to roads. We're all so different, but we don't know anything. And even science is constantly changing. as more data comes out. You challenge the science and you get, new science. So it's really funny when people claim, oh, there's this many species, or this doesn't exist, or that doesn't, not this is not a. We don't know. We
You
don't
gotta
know
run.
anything.
You gotta run from those people when they start making those sorts of claims.
Yeah.
And the thing is that this is where I get offended. That's why I said I get offended when people do that, knowing like where do you, okay, now I could ask you, where did you get that information from? But then I'm wrong if I ask you that. Now it's like I'm not trusting a person, an experiencer, right? Now I'm not trusting an experiencer if I ask you in that moment when you tell me that this stuff factually, then I question that. Now I'm the bad guy, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of being a host, you kind of have to walk a fine line and kind of do the dance. But I've heard things all the time where I'm like, that's why I always take a logical approach. I think that's the best way to do it, is to use logic and not just super over speculate. Like, let's talk about what we know. Let's weigh that against what's historically happened. Let's to give you an indication on what we could expect going forward, and work at those levels. You know what I mean? To figure this out instead of just jumping in. And that's why I said earlier today on the at the end of the show, let's stop with these dates.
Yes.
Stop with these dates.
Right.
They never come true.
Right.
BS.
And like, if this is somebody having a dream about a date, like, I can tell you my dreams, even though I can tell you the dream and I can tell you how I interpreted, it's not necessarily going to be exactly what the dream meant. And just because a date was brought out in a dream doesn't mean the date was significant to that topic.
Right.
Like, for instance, I won't get into the details of this one specific dream, but there was a lot of different aspects in the dream, and I woke up going, "Wow, that was a visit dream." So my old cat, who shows up to collect spirit when a pet or a loved one is going to pass, he showed up in my dream, and but he wasn't all excited to see me like he normally is, and he showed me different details of some different things, and I had all these crazy things happen in the dream. And so I woke up going, wow, what was that about? um and I mean, the details of the dream, if I was to tell you the details of the dream and then how I interpreted it and then how it played out, it was like, wow, how did I not get that? um it's he saved my rabbit's life because of the dream. He saved his life because he showed me something in the dream that was wrong with him that I had no idea. Rabbits don't speak.
Right.
My rabbit's 14, like, that's my bubby. And my old cat showed me what was wrong. So we rushed him to the vet when I knew there was something wrong 2 weeks later. Rushed him to the vet, and I had to convince the vet, please, this is why I need you to do this, because my old cat showed up. And she did what she had to do, and it turned out he was dead on accurate.
Ooh, wow.
So, like, I have these dreams, but then when I interpreted them, it's not always, because I didn't want to believe that that was real. When I saw that in the dream, I looked at the other details in the dream and went, well, look at this and look at that and whatever. And then I started warning my closest friends, saying, just so you know, he showed up in my dream. So somebody close or a pet, anyways, it's crazy. But the date thing, I just take it as a grain of salt, because everything changes. Everything you're doing right now is going to change the potential outcome of tomorrow. It's like a spider web. We're all in the spider web. It's like the mycelium under the ground. All the trees are connected to the plants and the flowers and the fungi, and they're all communicating. And that's us. We're all connected to that. It's after I had an experience, and afterwards I refer to it as the spider web. And yeah, every little thing we do, we can change. Right now, we can change. It's like a choose your own adventure book. Do you
There you
remember
go.
that?
I
Do you
like
remember
that.
that?
I like that. Yeah.
Choose
Yeah.
your own adventure. This is how I describe it.
Yes.
And yeah, so the dates, I don't know. I think we shouldn't stick to even with my dreams. Like you know, I see them. I know that they have the potential to come true, and I see the connections down the road, and it's usually within 24, 48 hours. But some of them have been years and years later. And this whole dream with the crafts, what I saw the other day in the video, it was exactly from the dream when I was very, very little. When, the early 80s, we didn't have drones. We didn't have, like, what did we have for spaceships on TV was like, what, very, very basic things. But this was, I didn't get the feeling it was necessarily a spaceship, but it was spacecraft. It was crafts flying all through the air, and then there was shooting going on, like one saw the other as a threat, even though it wasn't necessarily a threat. And that's where we're at right now. I think that's coming next. I think it's
I
coming
love
next.
it.
But, I mean, I hope there's not shooting that happens, but I don't think that we should necessarily see this as a threat. And we have to remember too that our government is so corrupt. So they know this. They know this.
Oh
And
yeah.
so just just keep in mind, recently it was said that the craft are being spotted above, is it Congress members, their homes?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say too much about that, but I think there's I don't think that we should see this. And I think just watching it play out is going to be really exciting.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bomber. I love the way you think. You're totally awesome, and my mind works like that too. I could tell it just goes here and it goes there, it goes there, all these places. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Just how far that rabbit hole goes.
Yes,
So
and
I would love to talk to you many more times. I'm glad that we've had this time to talk.
thank you for having me on. I'm so shy to talk to anybody, especially online, but not in the chat. I know I don't appear that way in the chat. I kind of kind of go off at times, but
Yeah.
it's different to talk in person. But like to that point of you know our minds going all over the place. I think it's really important right now that we all take the time to do some meditations every day, even if all we can do is 5 minutes in the morning and 5 at night, but ideally a little bit more, just
Hmm.
to ground ourselves, to bring ourselves back to the present, because there is so much going on and there will be more going on. um, Meditations, grounding, like walking out in the ground barefoot if you don't have snakes and spiders, like if you're not in Australia. But things like that just really bring the focus back, you know, and quiet our minds. And when we start to feel anxious about what is going on, just remind ourselves this is all a big adventure. We're here for the adventure. So, we take it as it comes, and we don't die. So there's nothing to worry about, really.
You can't handle the truth.
That is awesome, Bomber. You are so awesome. You are like grand slam. And I'm using American sports terms here tonight.
I love you, Robert.
I love you.
You are so freaking awesome, Bomber. Thank you so much. I mean, man, I love it. I just love it. Okay, but wait.
I love you.
Let me just give you that.
Oh, come on. See, I'm jealous now. I don't have any special effects.
I got something for you, race fan. You always get the gold in my book. But awesome stuff, Bomber. You know, like I said, I would encourage you to come do this more, because I really enjoyed engaging with you on this level. I mean, really, you were awesome.
Thank you for having me. I do have a lot more experiences that I could share. I just I think I would have to get more comfortable talking like this. Like this was good. This was good.
Yeah.
If we did this more, I would eventually get to where I would maybe be able to share some things.
You just did a commercial for this show, because that's what this show is for, guys. It's for exactly what Bomber just said, to come out of your shell, to be more comfortable sharing your experience, is exactly why this show is here, and exactly why we do this show in particular. So it is very awesome that you took advantage of that. And I'm so glad to be a part of helping you come out, because everybody's story is important. Everybody needs to tell their story. Don't hold it in. You'll have a day come up for yourself. Hopefully, Bomber breaking the ice for you is another step towards you coming out up on stage and just talking about, you know, the phenomenon. We're all dealing with it. We don't have a choice. We're all humanity. We're all linked together. We're all locked together in this thing that we're trying to figure out. So I really love the fact that I know there's other people out there that are willing to do it and will do it at some point. Yeah, I feel really good about this. So thank you, Bomber. You kind of just did that for me tonight, and I really do appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm really glad that I called in.
Yeah, you are awesome. And Dr. Love, race fan, do you guys have anything you want to add to that before we wrap this thing up for the night?
Hi, baby.
Go ahead, Dr. Love, you first.
Yeah, just much love, you guys. Thanks for letting me share. You know, you're with family if you can pee in front of them. And yeah, so
that's a Dr.
anyway.
I love it.
Love you guys. Thank
we
you.
love you
Good
too.
night.
We love all you guys. And Magnetic Race fan, if you have anything to say to everyone.
Yeah, Rob, thanks for letting me sit in and be part of the group. And I just wanted to say that on November 1st, I officially upgraded my ham license from technician to general, so I get a lot more privileges. Nice. And here's something I'll leave you with. If, say, tomorrow the government came out and said, okay, you guys were totally right. We've been lying the whole time. Roswell was real. Everything is real. All the stuff that happened at Dulce and all that. Well, what else have they been lying about for 70 years? There you go.
Touche.
They've been lying about everything.
I was going to say, what haven't they lied about?
Okay.
Exactly.
Magneticus, do you got something you want to leave the audience with?
Well, yeah, I was kind of confused now, but that's okay. Because now I'm sitting there thinking about if you sprinkle when you tinkle, be a sweetie and wipe the seedy. So I'll leave you with that. You know another good one? I'll tell you another good one. Okay. And this is one the wife couldn't get. Took a while for the wife to get, right?
Okay.
So the man claimed to be a sniper, and his wife said he couldn't hit the toilet.
Okay, I get that one too. I do understand that, man. That's such a Magneticus thing to say as well.
So, what's that?
We do appreciate you. No, this is just your Magneticus humor. Is just I expected that. So
well, I thought I was gonna get a minute to talk, but I just caught the end. So yeah, that's life, because Bomber was talking about spiders and talking about how to power it without batteries, and I think about my spider web here, with my dual cables and
the link's been in the chat all night, man. You had opportunity to come in earlier, man. And
how many times have you heard me on here?
I know.
So I give everybody. I always give everybody else an opportunity to call in first. You know me. I'll wait at least a half hour, 45 minutes. I try to, anyways.
We may start going back to 2 days a night, man. I mean, 2 nights a week. if this gets, where I need it to go.
During normal daylight hours instead of late at night.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking about doing a morning show and having, I'm working.
We should do like a Sunday brunch. Sunday brunch.
I'm already
around 11.
I'm doing a lot of work right now, man. Let me tell you. I got a lot of buddy, but I want to make sure that what we're doing is the content fits what it's supposed to fit, and that it's relevant and that it matters. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
So that's where we're at. So I appreciate everybody who came up here. And Bomber, I'm going to leave it for you. You got something you want to tell just the audience real quick before we get about here?
Yeah. There's a story about. There's just a quick story about being in an airplane. I want you all to answer this. If you were in the airplane and all the masks come down, there's turbulence and the masks come down. Do you give your mask to the child sitting next to you first and get their mask on, or do you put it on yourself first?
You help the other people.
Yeah, I'm putting it on the child.
This is the.
I usually sit by the escape exit just because I'm a little guy, and trust me, when there's a big group of people trying to get out the door, you want to be the first one in line. That's one thing I learned at Black Friday. Is
putting the mask on the child is the wrong answer. You want to put it on yourself first,
so you can help
so that you can then help the child and help the others.
Yeah.
So throughout what is happening right now in the world and everything that's going to be happening in the future, and anxiety becoming more prevalent, stress, depression, and all of the stuff that we're all dealing with, it's really important that you focus on yourself first, and not in a selfish way. It becomes selfless, because if you're taking care of yourself, then you're able to take care of everybody else around you.
Bomber hit us with a trick question at the buzzer, and we love it. No, that was excellent. We do love it, because I've heard that before. Yeah, and you think it's not wrong to think that way, but it's not the right answer, right? At the end of the day.
Because if you're not okay, then you can't take care of other people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I sit by the emergency exit, so I'm opening the door. So when the plane crashes, I'm going to jump right before it crashes, and I'm going to avoid the impact.
You're a scientist, Magneticus. I know you know that wouldn't work at all, buddy. But with that, with that being said, I do want to I'll give everybody a round of applause. Thank you all for participating tonight. That's what this show is about. It's what it's for. And I feel like you guys took perfect advantage of what this is supposed to be. And I really do appreciate that. And just for everybody going forward, this is what we're supposed to do here. So next time we have this show, come up on stage and let's do exactly what we did here tonight. With that being said, I'm going to bid everyone here goodbye as I get ready to shut the show down. Thank you again, Bomber. You have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk soon. Hopefully, we'll talk soon. And Magneticus, same to you, buddy. Appreciate you. Love you, love, Dr. Love. Thank you for coming in and showing your face. I saw it, even though it's for a split second. I saw your face. Thanks for coming in. Race fan with the gold. Race fan with the gold. Thanks for coming on in. And I'm sure you'll have gold tomorrow night at the after hours show when we get ready to get back into more conversations. So can't wait, and I'll see you guys all there.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You guys take care.
Love you, stuff.
All right, shutting it down. And it has been a spectacular show here tonight. So I just want to make sure that if there are new people out there in the audience tonight, that you consider hitting the subscribe button. It's a family thing here. We have these great conversations that move the needle. I would love to converse with you as well, with you, particularly you. So consider hitting that subscribe button. Consider hitting the notification bell, and come on back. We do the late night show right now every Saturday. I think I have a program here. Let me go ahead and bring that up for you just so everyone can see this. We have, let me see, from last week. We have Social Bits coming soon, which will be short form release content right here on this channel. So it'll be like occasional once or twice a week drop little 15, 20-minute video for you to enjoy. Plus the shows that you see right here, which are The Social Dig, which we do on Wednesdays. We have one coming up this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Make sure you're here for that. We have My Experience with the Phenomena coming back next Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, which our guest should be Lala Bright and Science Barbarino. So that should be awesome. And then once again, where you're at right now, which is the Late Night Call-In Show, Saturdays at 11:30 p.m. Pacific. And then when we used to do it 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday, maybe we'll bring Sundays back once we start getting this flow going again. But I totally would appreciate anybody out there who hasn't subscribed to consider going ahead and doing that. And then outside of that, let me go through the chat and just thank everybody who was here. Lex Diaz, thanks for coming. Ruth Kleber, appreciate you. Tamad Man, thank you. Chris Jarvis, I see you out there. Once again, everyone you saw on stage today. Christine Lynn, J Truth Seeker, do see you out there. Hillbilly Herb, thanks for coming in. We Riders DG. Let's see. Van Gogh was on stage. So we had Nikki, Restore Beliefs, appreciate you for coming on stage as well. Welcome to the show. Moody Mongol, thanks for coming on in. Thanks for enjoying the show today. Thanks for supporting Bim Jim. Let's see. Let's go back. JSCO77, I see you out there. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. J Truth Seeker, thanks for showing up tonight. Let's see. Who else do we have? Lex Diaz. Maggie M10, who had to leave earlier. Thanks for coming in. Jessica S, I see you. Thanks for coming in tonight. Fantastic. Let me see. Anyone else that I missed as we get ready to shut it down? I think we're pretty close here. Woo Riders DG, Derek Galloway, thanks for coming in. And like I said, if there's lurkers out there, Deidre C, I see you as well. Any lurkers out there, consider coming aboard and just be a part of the family. Otherwise, if you follow me over here from After Hours, I will see you right back there tomorrow, right here on the Social Dig. You guys have your great rest of your night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And I will see you then. Awesome stuff. Take care.